Okay, we're rolling. I had to make sure we were live because I noticed that the last episode, it kind of cut in. Didn't really hear me welcome. But hey, family, welcome back to the Ain't Just For Nothing podcast. I'm CC, and today's episode is called Healing Isn't Loud, It's Quiet Work. So, as always, let's take one slow breath together first. Inhale and exhale. So, last episode, we talked about choosing yourself without guilt and about boundaries, about listening to your intuition, about finally honoring what you need instead of constantly proving yourself. And that sounds empowering, and it is. But there's a part of healing that doesn't get talked about enough, the quiet part, the in between part, the part where you've chosen yourself, but then everything hasn't magically fallen into place yet. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, because sometimes healing doesn't look like a glow up, it doesn't look like overnight success or instant peace. Sometimes healing basically looks like starting over and living simpler than you expected. And of course, outgrowing people, letting go of relationships, and rebuilding financially. And in the midst of that, you might be misunderstood. And it even means having fewer distractions and spending more time alone, learning yourself again. So pretty much it's not flashy, it's quiet. And if you're not careful, you can mistake that quiet for failure. Okay. And so lately, guys, I've had to remind myself of this a lot lately, actually. Because this season of my life doesn't look impressive on the outside at all. Okay. It looks like rebuilding. Okay. And it feels like I've been rebuilding for a long time. But having grace for yourself, you do not rush the timing, you trust it. And so it looks like taking things day by day. It looks like protecting my daughter's peace, protecting my energy, choosing sobriety, choosing clarity, choosing stability. And it looks like saying no more than I used to. And we could talk about that and really break that down. But I think that if you're resonating with this particular part of healing, then you understand. Recovering from being you know, I have been calling it a serial people pleaser. um, Saying no a lot more often is not what I'm used to, but I'm trusting it. Um, I'm seeing boundaries work in my life. And so I'm resting more than I used to. I don't have as much drama in my life. I'm letting go of things I once thought I needed to hold on to. And if I'm honest, sometimes that feels really, really lonely. Sometimes it feels like, shouldn't I be further by now? But then I remind myself, wait, hold on, Cece. Like, this is not regression. This is repair. Okay? We live in a world that celebrates loud wins, big moves, big money, big announcements. But real healing, it is not small. Actually, it is small. But it's not like unimportant because it's quiet. You know what I mean? Real healing seems like it's small. It seems like it's, you know, something that you want to skip over and get to the, you know, celebratory part. But really, it's choosing not to react. Okay? Real healing is choosing peace over drama. It's not texting back, maybe someone that you know you could have said some other things, but it's choosing not to. It's going to bed earlier. It's saving money. Okay? It's breathing before responding. It's walking away quietly instead of fighting loudly, like I used to fight so loudly. I wanted to be the loudest one heard. But nobody claps for that when you are walking away quietly. As a matter of fact, a lot of people think that it's fake. A lot of people don't really believe when you are diving into real healing. Nobody claps for that. Okay? But that's the work that it takes to change your life. Okay? That's the work that changes your life. It really is. And so here's something I've learned recently. When your life gets quieter, it does not mean that you are losing. It often means that you are finally safe. Okay? Hi, Kay. Welcome in. Hope you don't mind me calling you that. um, so it often means you're finally safe. Safe enough to not live in chaos, safe enough to not chase the noise, safe enough to not force connections that do not fit. And personally, guys, for a long time, it's good. Okay, thank you. I'm glad to see you here. For a long time, guys, personally, I confused so bad intensity with love. I thought it had to be so intense. You had to feel it. I had to be super passionate. You know, chaos with passion, busyness with worth. Okay. Now I'm learning that peace, real peace, actually feels simple, feels boring. But when you're used to a lot of chaos around you, of course it's going to feel like that. It's calmer, it's less dramatic. And at first, that calm can feel unfamiliar. And like I said, even boring. So it's just sometimes just your nervous system not being in survival mode anymore. And that's actually healing. So if you're in a rebuilding season right now, if life feels slower than you expected, if you're doing the inner work but don't see big results yet, let me tell you this gently. Nothing is wrong. You are not behind. You're not failing. You're stabilizing. Roots grow underground first, right? And nobody sees them. Nobody sees them at all. When a flower has to push through the dirt, when it's coming up, nobody sees all the hard work that this beautiful flower has to go through in order to blossom. But it has to push through a lot. Okay? Nobody sees them. So just like we're about to see when it's springtime, everybody's going to glory over all of the new blossoms. But just like a tree, the roots grow down first before it goes up. But the roots they're the reason why the tree stands later. And in this season, this is your root work. If this resonates with you right now and you're in this season of healing, this is your root work and it's important. And this is the part that nobody talks about. Okay? So instead of asking, why isn't everything happening faster? Try asking, what am I quietly healing right now? Because maybe you're learning boundaries. Maybe you're breaking old cycles. I know for sure I have recognized old patterns, okay? And I was looking at something today about the different levels of awakening, and maybe I'll talk about that in the next episode, but sometimes you have to go through these levels completely, and you have to do the work in each level of awakening. Okay? Because maybe you're trusting yourself. Maybe you're protecting your peace, becoming softer, becoming wiser, becoming steadier. And that's not small. That's foundational, actually. Okay, so I feel like now's the time. Let's take one more breath together. Inhale. And exhale. It's important to note that you inhale and then you exhale for longer than you inhale. Okay? I do a lot of breath work. Maybe we'll talk about that in another episode. But healing doesn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes the quiet seasons are the most sacred ones, guys. Okay? Remember that. So, thank you for being here with me. I appreciate you all. Until next time, stay grounded, stay gentle, and trust that the quiet work that you're doing now is building a life that actually lasts. All right? Good night, everybody. Take care. See y'all next week.